$2 billion. That is how much Americans spent on raised garden beds last year. Most of those beds will be rotting, depleted, and needing full replacement within 6 years. That is not a gardening problem. That is a business model. There is a method that costs $0, uses wood you are going to throw away, and gets measurably better every single year for 20 years. Not worse, better. The science behind it is the same chemistry running every old-growth forest on Earth. And this video covers 3 things no other Hugelkultur video touches: Gopher protection, the wood type guide, and the HOA-friendly version for seniors and suburban gardeners. Here is the thing. If this system is so effective, why do most gardening guides skip this method entirely? I will answer that at the very end. But first, let me show you the math they never run for you. Give me 10 minutes. We are covering this in 3 parts. Part 1. The real cost of raised beds. The real cost that most raised bed reviews skip over. Part 2. 3 things happening underground when you bury wood. The same 3 things happening in every old-growth forest right now. And Part 3. How to build one this weekend for $0. Including the Gopher fix, the wood type guide, and the version that works inside an HOA or for gardeners with bad knees. Let's start with the math. Because once you run these numbers, you cannot unsee them. And I share a new smart gardening secret like this every week. So make sure you subscribe. Here is what the average raised bed setup actually costs. Startup soil, $50 to $120. Wood kit. A cheap cedar kit runs around $140, but lasts about 6 years before it starts warping and splitting. Over 10 years, that same budget kit costs you $458. That works out to $1.43 per square foot per year. The premium option, a solid steel bed at $300 up front, actually comes out cheaper per year than the budget kit. $458 for the cheap option. But the money is not even the real problem. A raised bed is a closed system. You fill it with soil, you grow in it, the organic matter breaks down, and by next spring, the soil level has dropped. So you refill it. It depletes again. You refill it again. Every single year. The forest floor does not work this way. It has never worked this way. It builds. Here is why that matters. The raised bed market is $2.1 billion in 2024, growing to $3.4 billion by 2030. A market that grows because gardeners have to keep buying things. Soil. Amendments. Replacement kits. A garden system that lasts 20 years and needs nothing would not be very good for business. A raised bed starts declining the day you fill it. That is not a design flaw. That is just how pre-built systems work. So, what does a garden system that actually improves every single year look like? The answer has been growing in German grandmothers' backyards since 1962. In 1962, a German gardener named Herman Andra published a small booklet. In it, he described something his grandmother had done for decades without calling it anything. She piled brush, branches, and fallen logs in one corner of her property. She never watered it, never fertilized it. She just let it sit. And year after year, that pile grew the most extraordinary plants on the property. That observation became the foundation for Sepp Holzer's Krametterhof farm in the Austrian Alps, 1,100 meters above sea level, where temperatures drop to -20 Celsius. Holzer used Hugelkultur ridges to grow citrus trees on a mountainside. And in 2024, a peer-reviewed study published in Communications, Earth and Environment by Springer Nature documented 9 farms across Germany and Luxembourg. 27% more soil carbon, 201% more earthworms, 60% more nitrogen than conventional garden beds. Here is why it works. Think of fresh wood, like a brand new kitchen sponge still in the packaging. Stiff, dense, does not hold much. But after years underground, fungi eat away the soft interior and leave behind a skeleton full of tiny channels. That skeleton becomes nature's sponge. It soaks up rainwater and holds it right where your roots need it. The wood is your irrigation system. Mechanism number 2. Heat. Your compost pile gets warm in the middle, right? Well, the exact same thing happens underground. Billions of microbes eating that buried wood release steady heat as a byproduct. No flame, just warmth. That heat buffers your root zone against frost and extends your growing season on both ends. Third mechanism. In the forest, when a tree falls, it does not just rot. Fungi move in, build a web of threads through the wood, and start delivering nutrients to every plant connected to that web. Your mound is that fallen tree. The fungi are your fertilizer program. And here is what people get wrong. A University of Washington researcher named Axel Adams showed that burying large logs does not rob nitrogen from your crops. The key is spatial separation. Your roots live in the topsoil layer above. The decomposition zone stays below. They never interfere. You are not building a garden bed. You are building a forest floor. And forest floors improve every single year. Now here is the question most people have at this point. Which wood do I use? What if gophers tunnel in from below? And what if my HOA will never allow a 5-foot mound in my backyard? Let's build one. And let's fix all 3. Part 3. Let's build one. And before one log goes into the ground, here is the fix that the viral Hugelkultur videos never mention. If you live in California, Oregon, Washington, or anywhere in the Rocky Mountain states, pocket gophers will find your mound. Per the University of California IPM protocol, before you place a single log, lay down 1/2 inch galvanized hardware cloth across your entire footprint. Extend it 12 inches beyond the edges on all sides and bend those edges up. That creates an L-shaped barrier along the perimeter. One time, 15 minutes, around $15 to $30. Done. Second, wood type. This was the most asked question in the comments on the original video. Here are 3 woods that will cause problems. Black walnut contains juglone, a compound that kills tomatoes and other nightshade family plants. Do not bury it fresh. Fully composted walnut is safe. Cedar heartwood is not toxic to plants, but cedar resists fungi. That means the decomposition barely starts. Your mound will not build moisture or nutrients on schedule. It just sits there. And pressure-treated lumber? Avoid it completely. You want a garden where your grandkids and your dogs can play safely right next to the beds without you worrying about chemical leaching. Here is the simple rule for what to use. Free deciduous hardwood from an arborist. According to USDA Forest Service research, red alder, willow, poplar, and cottonwood decompose fastest and feed the mound biology quickest. If an arborist is dropping free wood at your property through chip drop, those logs will almost always be the right choice. Do not overthink the wood. Free and deciduous is the answer. Third edition, the stealth version. If your HOA will never allow a 5-foot mound, or if bending over a ground-level build is not an option for your knees or back, the answer is stealth Hugelkultur. You build the wood core inside an existing raised bed frame. From outside, it looks like any raised bed. Underneath, it runs the same biology. A 2-year trial, documented by the USDA Sustainable Agriculture Program in Binghamton, New York, matched full mound performance for drainage and organic matter buildup. For accessibility, keep bed height at 34 inches or under. Reach depth no more than 18 inches for wheelchair users and 36 inches for those using walkers. Now for the build. It is just 3 layers. For the bottom, use your largest logs and branches, 3 to 6 inches in diameter minimum. Pack the gaps with smaller branches and twigs. Middle. A nitrogen layer using grass clippings or green waste, followed by 4 to 6 inches of topsoil as your rooting zone. Top. 2 to 3 inches of straw or leaf mulch. Soak the entire mound thoroughly. Shallow-rooted annuals work well in year 1 if you want to plant immediately. One critical mistake to avoid. Do not mix sawdust or wood chips directly into your topsoil layer. The surface area is too large. The microbial activity that follows will strip nitrogen from your soil before your plants can use it. Keep the wood core below. Keep the topsoil above. Always separate. That spatial separation is the entire mechanism. Build it once, water it through year 1. After that, put the hose away. The wood is your irrigation system. The fungi are your fertilizer program. Year 2, the mound handles itself. Year 3, your garden will be producing more than anything in your neighborhood. And your neighbors will ask, what you are doing differently. Here is what you tell them.
Let's bring this together.
A raised bed is a product with a built-in expiration date. It depletes every year. Hugelkultur is a one-time build that improves every year. The three mechanisms: the sponge, the heat, the fungi network. The same chemistry running every old-growth forest on Earth. This weekend, grab free wood from an arborist, lay your hardware cloth if you need it, and layer it. Logs below, topsoil above. Always separate. Now, here is the answer to the question I asked you at the start. Why does every garden store act like this does not exist? Because there is nothing to sell. No bags to refill. No wood to replace. No annual subscription. Herman Andra's grandmother never sold a thing. Her brush pile just grew. And it kept growing. By year 3, your mound will be outproducing every raised bed in your neighborhood. And when your neighbor walks over and asks what you are doing differently, you will know exactly what to tell them. One action right now. Look up chip drop. That is CHIPDROP.com. Find free wood in your area. Then drop a comment below. Which wood are you planning to use? Or which wood did you almost use by mistake? I read every one. And if you know someone who is about to spend $600 on a raised bed they will need to replace in 6 years, send this to them. It takes 30 seconds and it might save them a lot of money. And if you want to know exactly what to plant on top of that new mound to keep pests away naturally, click the video on your screen right now. Happy gardening!